Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully some more folks will trickle in. Thanks everybody for being here today for our webinar called How to Build a World-Class E-Commerce Marketing Team, featuring folks from Hawke Media, GhostBed, and Mulberry Technology. Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday, hump day. So we can get into it. As far as agenda, we're going to do some quick introductions of the companies and the folks represented here today. And then we're going to get into it. And the style of this webinar is going to be panel style. And specifically, this panel will be highlighting responses on key topics related to building an in-house marketing or agency side marketing e-commerce team. And really what we're trying to do here is highlight the differences between an in-house versus agency approach. And the hope would be is that everyone attending can take some real tactical suggestions from some of our experts today back to your own team and apply them in a way that is hopefully helpful. So as we go through the content, questions are very much encouraged, although we will save them for the end. So if you have questions, if you can please enter them in the Q&A box, which you should be able to find on your Zoom taskbar there. And just feel free to enter those throughout the session as questions occur to you. And then we will address them at the end. So thanks again for being here, and we'll go ahead and jump in. Okay, so I'll quickly just go through the folks, and then I'm going to let everybody introduce them in their own time. Today, joining us representing in-house is Rich Bernstein. He's the Director of Marketing for GhostBed. And representing the agency side is Kyle Harrington. He's the VP of Media at Hawke Media. And then my name is Jordan Garner, and I'm COO at Mulberry Technology, and I'll be moderating. All right, so we're going to do some meet our panel slides, and I'll give everyone time to introduce themselves and also their company, and then we'll get into the panel topics. So I'll kick it over to Rich from GhostBed to start.
Thanks, Jordan. Just making sure you guys can hear me. Awesome. Cool. Yep. So just a little bit about myself here. I've been in the marketing field for about 20 years now. So I've been here for quite a while. Have seen things shift over time from traditional to digital, more in that direction. I ran an e-commerce store for almost about 10 years. And then I worked for 3 marketing agencies. My specialty back then was SEO. So I did lead up some pretty high profile accounts like Coca-Cola, Samsung, Roto-Rooter, TD Bank, and then Anthem Insurance. And then now I've been with marketing with the GhostBed side for about almost 7 years now, and then 4 years full time. And it started from up on top where you see the little guy, my kid, my firstborn, and he got his first GhostBed. And then now it leads over to myself having a license plate of GhostBed. So I did go all in as the marketing director for GhostBed, and I lead up a really, really super awesome team of about 10 people now. So started with myself and then scaled to 10. So that's the little bit about me. And then about the company here. So we have been in the mattress space for about 20 years. Our parent company is Nature Sleep. We've been doing GhostBed for about 7 years now. We are in a bunch of omni-channels. So that means we are in Costco, Home Depot, Sam's Club. And then we also have a retail line too that we're into stores like American Mattress, Mattress City. So we were founded on quality products first. So our founder, who's Mark Warner, his grandfather actually invented the Warner ladder. So big company, and he's actually was the CEO there for a while. So quality first products. Every single product has amazing materials designed for cooling. So a lot of people sleep hot at nighttime, so we did build material around that. And we do focus on product and customer first. And each of our mattresses has a 101-night sleep trial, free shipping, returns, and about 20-year warranty, and everything is made in the USA from the mattress side.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
that.
You bet. All right. So, and one more slide for you.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to touch upon a few things here that we can kind of get into Kyle's intro, and then we can kind of get through the panelists here. So I just wanted to highlight some things about a marketing game plan. As I've been with the company for quite a while now, we've definitely grown, and it all starts from the top up, right? So the CEO, he has to understand marketing. He does. And so I came on board here and he understands that consumers are first, products first, just a great customer experience. And we integrate them throughout our ecosystem. So like this is an example here where we got our CEO on TikTok. I mean, that's where it's come from here. And actually, I think I looked this morning, there's about 130,000 people have seen this one kind of, I would say, viral video now on TikTok. So it starts up top, and then we're kind of broken down into channel experts. So everything's built on having a performance side and a creative side, how it kind of works together. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then we do go off of a framework. So we build a framework that, all the marketing people and the team kind of understands and knows. And we go off quarter goals and we kind of work off that. Always have good relationship with developers. I can say that's the first thing to do is because they're the ones that implement things on site. So always have a good relationship. Make things sure is agile. So we do a lot of real fast launches and stuff. So we spend more time MVPing and then getting out the door and iterate later is what we do. Know your numbers. I would say that, I'll get more into it, but I would say just make sure you understand your spend, you understand how much what the ROAS is, the CPAs, everything should be there that you should be able to get to pretty easily. We always iterate creatives, kind of work on getting fresh approaches there, work on videos. Project management is super, super key. We started before with zero project management with the team I built, and now we're up to a project management system that we kind of utilize a lot with. And then we move around projects from revenue first. So if we're seeing something that has a lot of revenue first, we'll move things around, shift that direction, and then build a good ecosystem of the platform, right? So we use Shopify, build tools around the Shopify platform, take advantage of that. And then one thing that's super important to me is career growth. So making sure the people on the team have like what their goals are and how do you get there, and then keep on stepping up in their career path to make everybody happy. So that's it for me for now.
Awesome. Love the note on career growth, especially with the job market right now. Really important that, us as employers that we're showing employees a path forward. So that's great. And love how you guys are embracing TikTok. Very cool to see the TikTok evolution since it launched, to including companies and lots of folks. Excellent. All right. So I'm going to pass it over to Kyle to introduce himself and Hawke Media.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Kyle. I've been at Hawke a little over 2 years now. I oversee all basically digital services at this point. I've been in the industry a little over 12 to 15 years now. I've been in-house and both on the agency side and in-house at some industry-leading agencies, which is exciting to see. They're kind of the evolution. I really work across omni-channel at Hawke. And then if you ever catch me outside of Hawke, you can see a picture of me and my mom there traveling. I definitely am a golfer. I'm not good, so don't think that these pictures I can just buy some nice clothes. But that's a picture of me, and then that's actually our executive vice president of services, Lindsay, who we golf quite a bit with. But yeah, a little bit about me.
You certainly
and
look
then
the part.
Hawke as a whole. So the great thing about Hawke is we're definitely an agency in the industry. We've grown exponentially over the last 2.5, 3 years. We've been around 8 years now. We manage over $100 million of media spend. So we definitely have a lot of learning and insights. We do hire top talent. That's one of the best places to work, with many Glassdoor and best places to work, LA and Boston and New York. We really are a transparent agency. We don't hold any of your data. You actually work out of your ad accounts. We have month-to-month contracts, which is different than a lot of agencies. We don't tie you into a long-term contract. We definitely have our work speak for itself. And we also offer a la carte services. The best part about us is we're here to make your business grow. So it's expanding into different channels, things like that. So Hawke definitely has a lot of great value props in the space. And we currently work with about 700 brands at the moment.
Wow. Awesome. Great. Thank you for that intro, Kyle. And then quickly, I'll speak briefly on Mulberry technology. Mulberry, about 4 years ago, decided that it was time to revamp product protection, and mainly related to the customer experience of extended warranties and product protection, which had notoriously been really, really clunky and not really with the customer first in mind mentality. But with that, also reinvented how retailers can offer product protection in their existing buyer journeys across all of their channels. So today, Mulberry partners with retailers across the board, different channels, different categories of products, and different sizes to seamlessly offer product protection in their existing buyer journey, pre-purchase, at purchase, and post-purchase. The benefits to brands, essentially, this is a high margin net new revenue stream for retailers that can also act as a nice differentiator to get consumers to have confidence shopping with you in the first place, can help increase customer satisfaction throughout their journey because they have recourse if and when something goes wrong, and overall helps build customer loyalty and LTV over time. So just a few of the brands we work with today. Our platform essentially has a few main pillars. The primary pillar has to be a great customer experience, because unless we're selling a great product, this isn't going to be something that a retailer would really want to promote. So coverage on more products, better coverage that doesn't have gotchas, and a way better experience for customers when it is time to make claims. Obviously, I mentioned that this is a net new revenue stream for retailers that can be very high margin and doesn't require additional support on the side of the retailer. And then there's making the integration super seamless so it doesn't disrupt any existing operations for the retailer via our e-commerce platform integrations and our widgets that have built-in optimization, as well as doesn't require knowing your product catalog in advance. So if you are from a retailer and you'd like to explore a product protection program, let us know. All right, so now we're going to get into the real meat of this conversation. And that is looking at some panel topics as it relates to building out a marketing team, both from the viewpoint of our experts in-house versus agency. So we'll alternate back and forth for who goes first, but it's going to be basically open conversation. The first topic is team structure. So essentially, how do you think about building a team and the structure of a marketing team, either in-house or agency, as you go through different phases of growth as a company? We will start with Rich on the in-house side.
Yeah, I can talk about how we started and how we kind of ended up, right? So from the initial growth, and just to let you kind of understand, like for where we're at now, we do millions of dollars a month in spend. So like just, from what we started with, a lot less than that. So from an in-house perspective, I wanted to build something where everybody owns a piece of the channels. So you have somebody owns paid media, somebody owns partnerships, somebody owns email marketing, somebody owns the content side. And so at first it's like, well, you have, maybe 3 people owning each of them, and then they hire somebody underneath or contract things out. And then there got to be a point where we now were able to build a team. So each of the departments are built out now. So we have one person in charge of paid media, and then underneath them, they have a paid social person. And then we have somebody in charge of email marketing, somebody in charge of the partnerships. That's on the performance side of things. And then we have on the creative side, we have a creative director. Didn't start with that, had contractors starting out, and we have a videographer in that team. And then also on that team, we have somebody underneath the creative director does graphic design work. So there's 2 different types of structures. We have their performance, and then we have the creative, and we all kind of work together to kind of build the form. So like for us, we do a stand-up meeting on Monday. So kind of go through as a team, kind of how's everything going. It's more like half of it's BS, just team building, honestly, just to make sure we're all on the same page. We're in a remote, marketing field here, at least for our team. And then we have a data performance on Tuesday. So we go through the data on Tuesday. How are things looking for the channels? And then we have a creative meeting on Wednesday, and then meet back with the C-level suite. And everybody wants to join for our big marketing meeting on Thursdays. That's kind of like how we're kind of set up that way.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, you got to leave time for the chit chat in the
yeah.
environment. Super important. All right, Kyle, how do you view it from the agency side?
Yeah, we're a little different, obviously. I have a team of 100 plus cross-functional employees, on the team members, I would say. We really look at it as channel expertise. So anyone who's kind of in the paid social realm, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, with a director, with associate directors, with the goal of educating specifically in that space. Same along the paid search side, Amazon, Walmart side, affiliate marketing side, influencer. So we really have segmented the services to create professionals within each space, allowing for kind of, directors and associate directors to lead the partnerships, and really lead the channel expertise, and then pushing the boundaries of platform expansion. So one thing we've done recently is from our Amazon and Walmart marketplaces, we're actually moving into Overstock, Wayfair, all those marketplaces. Same with like paid social. I mean, obviously, there's tons of channels as you go from Pinterest to Snapchat to TikTok, even Reddit. We're definitely expanding our services. So we've really structured a team to be around the expertise in each channel, so that when we work with clients, they're getting someone specific in the channel and space that their a la carte service is based around.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. Very, very cool. All right. Moving on to the next topic. Key skill sets that you look to hire for, again, I would say at different phases in your company, and how to maybe vet for those a bit. This time we'll start with the agency side with Kyle.
Yeah, so, at the agency, we really look for quite a few different pieces in our skill sets. I would say one of our main skill sets is industry thought leaders, like I was just mentioning. So someone who really is taking the industry that they're in and focusing solely on that. The greatest kind of change over the year that everyone knows is iOS 14. So it's nice that we have, a specialist director, senior director, vice president under me on the paid social space that is able to solely focus on what are the changes happening, how do we adapt, what is the strategy, what is the attribution model. It's really, really nice that we have that. So that's really a key skill set, is that channel expertise. Also, partner utilization is another thing that we look for as a skill set. Someone who can really communicate efficiently and effectively. We really lean, as an agency having over $100 million to spend, we really lean in on those partnerships. So that's a really key part, especially going remote. That communication and partnership utilization is key with education. And then the last thing is, as another skill set, would be tools and industry insights. So we work with a variety of tools, which I know we're going to get to a little bit later. But I do know that is something that we look like: someone who's nimble, someone who's quick, someone who's able to adapt, someone who's also able to push the boundaries and look for some of those tools that we should be using to continue being an industry leader in the space.
It is always crazy to see the tooling changes in the industry, even with, for example, this year with everything that's happening with Google Analytics and Google Optimize, and yeah, keeping people in-house that can really be experts on those. It's hard to do. So very cool. All right. So I'll swing it over to Rich for the in-house perspective on skill sets.
Yeah, sure. That was good takeaways, Kyle. So from our perspective, some of the similar stuff here. So we started out so I would say I looked at it from how does somebody own that channel? So looking for somebody who really owns, like, for instance, you take paid media. So I hired somebody who has years of experience in agency level. They don't need to have an agency, but this person did. We interviewed a bunch of different people. And how do they take their skill set to the next level? By working all the different angles in the paid media side. And then how can they kind of career growth themselves by hiring someone underneath them? So which that person did, like the paid social side. And then we're looking for somebody to support that too. So it's really channel ownership. Same with the partnership side. How do we find somebody in the affiliate partnership side that has years of experience, can work well with the team, kind of own that channel? And owning that channel means that, they take everything from initiative, kind of like the next one initiative, and really setting up a framework for themselves to succeed in that specific channel. And so, like, during our meetings, we'll kind of come together and say, does this, like, what does your channel look like from each of the perspectives there? And so, like, initiative, eagerness to learn, make sure that they really are eager to learn. And the next one I would say is project management. So, since it's one key person that owns each of these channels, and they work as like a team to kind of filter underneath, they have to make sure that they're very organized, and they can lead projects from start to finish, not kind of go from different tasks. So, like, make sure that project management is a key focus of it.
Awesome. Makes me think it would be so interesting to, like, map all the marketing professionals' careers as they bounce back and forth from in-house to agency.
Yep.
So much experience to have on both sides. Obviously with you, both you guys being examples, but anyway, cool. All right, next topic. I would argue for my time in marketing, I think probably the hardest thing, which is getting really good leadership buy-in, like kind of not like superficial leadership buy-in, but like actually understanding what it takes to really build a marketing organization and marketing performance over time, resources, budget, all of that stuff. So Rich, we'll start with you on in-house.
Yeah, it's great, Jordan, right? So like I've been through my time, I've understood kind of buy-ins, like what to do with buy-ins, how to kind of lead that out. And so it starts with, I guess, understanding like from like a C-suite, kind of presenting to them, here's the people that are in charge of each of these different sections of the marketing side, and what are they doing, and then kind of running through numbers. And it all comes down to like, if you have let's just say a big ad budget, it's very hard to micromanage it by saying, this person in paid social did X dollars, this person paid PPC did this X dollars. So we look at it as like one encompassing piece of like the spend, but we do break it down specifically in channels or analytics side of things, but we all kind of work together in one spend. So if we get in that buy-in that way, because then it doesn't look like, okay, you're spending X amount of dollars and your ROI is this. It's kind of like one big bucket. And then from a CFO accounting, it's the same way. So like we do, and I think there's another slide there, but we do have like real-time data that the CFO goes to and make sure that they're seeing real-time data so we can see how we're pacing, how things are going through that direction. And so it's really important for them to kind of understand it. And then we do QBRs internal. It's almost like a smaller agency we have. So we do like a quarterly reports with the CFO and the C-suite that goes through like from start, says like, what are we doing for the quarter? And then what's our projection for the next quarter, and how we're moving around budget, how we're moving around things too. And then like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, like it's good to get buy-in from engineering and development, right? It's like, why are we making these changes? Okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to predict changing this page, we'll predict this outcome. And then we can kind of go back and look through it and see by like annotations how things changed. So having the development side is super important. I've learned from like, on the agency side, it's a little harder to get that buy-in from development sometimes. So that's kind of what we're looking for.
So, I mean, it's crazy with development and engineering resources now. It feels like no one ever has less than 100 priorities on their list. And every single one has a revenue opportunity next to it. So continuing to just prioritize and reprioritize, it's nuts, never ends. So very good point. All right. So Kyle, on the agency side, you have two sets of leaders to get buy-in, Hawke Media leaders and your clients. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I would say, I'm really lucky at Hawke that, Eric, who's our CEO, and Tony, who's the president of the company, they both were digital marketers by trade. So they both were media buyers. They both were in the trenches, like they both get it. And so that's one thing that I really love about working at Hawke, is that our leadership team is very focused on how do we make our lives easier and a better work-life balance for our individual clients. So when we talk about bandwidth constraints, when we talk about pricing, when we talk about verticals to focus on, obviously a little bit different on the in-house side because we're focusing on how do we acquire more new clients. They're also very education focused, which is great, that I do get buy-in to say, hey, my team needs time to educate themselves, which I think a lot of agencies, and I know I've worked at these agencies, it's churn and burn, right? It's just get clients in the door. But I'm really lucky that we have the buy-in and support of our leadership on that side of the business. So, those are things that when an agency, your time is your commodity, that's really what you have to balance, is the education and all those pieces. Now, the client side is a little different. That's what I'm sure, as Rich knows, the client side is very different. But, the great part about Hawke is that we do kind of consider ourselves the outsourced CMO for our clients. So we really say, hey, what is our budget? And then we come back to you with a full plan. We come back to you with goals. We come back to you to set a realistic timeline with the channel mix. So we really do kind of put ourselves out there and then present to their C-suite level employees or their directors or senior directors of marketing, working with more senior people on the team. And that's why they hire us. So really getting the buy-in from the team of the strategy, the goals, the budget, also just being realistic. I mean, a lot of clients come to you with a goal. I would love to have those same goals at times. I actually saw this funny marketing GIF. I don't know if you've all seen it on LinkedIn floating around, or the infographic of the cruise ships. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. I saw it this weekend when I was browsing, but it was kind of funny where, you know, it's like, hey, everyone's marketing strategy is kind of like a small yacht, and then everyone's goal is a cruise ship, and then your marketing budget is an iron that looks like a boat kind of sitting over it. You'll have to see it on LinkedIn now that I said it, but you know, really corralling everything and putting it in one place, and then obviously getting the client's feedback and results. You know, so you know, there are two sides of leadership buy-in and agency, and it's definitely a balancing act.
Couldn't agree more. I did see that GIF, and it always makes me think of, you know, what marketing was maybe like 40, 50 years ago. My father-in-law has been in TV ad sales for a very long time. And when I talked to him about how he used to pitch the types of budgets that TV used to command with absolutely no data or tracking or attribution, you know, versus where we are today, it's funny.
It's wild. And like we have a portion of our business that's still, even podcast is a little out there, like podcast advertising, very similar. You know, there's still Nielsen studies, there's, you know, Millward Brown, you still have the big players out there, but you know, that's the digital space that, you know, we're all in. Is it's so quick to get data. You can put an ad up, by the time that time's running, you can see how many people saw it, how the frequency that people saw it. You can see how they interacted with the ad. Like you can see if it had a return, you can see the lifetime value to consumer, you can see the customer acquisition cost. It's just such a different way, because it's hard for me to even wrap my head around, hey, let's just throw up a TV ad and see if it works.
Right. It does feel like that timeline, especially for new channels, is shrinking in terms of like initially a new channel is out and you say, I just want to be there because everyone is, I don't want to miss it. To like, I need to be able to attribute results, which is actually a very good segue into measurement and goals, which is obviously really, really, really tied into everything we've talked about so far. So I'll kick it back to you, Kyle, on how you guys on the agency side tackle, you know, metric measurement, goal setting, and all of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, kind of what I was mentioning previously is that's part of our goal, right? As we come up with the realistic goal, we help achieve the goal that we set. We never want to set a client up for failure. I think Rich stole my ideas here, so I will collaborate with him a little bit. I did want to add a couple of additional insights that we've been really focusing on, especially with the iOS 14 update recently, is we don't really focus on return on ad spend as much, even though I think everyone loves the ROAS conversation. Eric, our CEO, he actually just wrote a book. You can see it behind me there. He does a really good job of talking about, it's called the Hawke Method, but he does a really good job about talking about customer acquisition and lifetime value to consumers. So we've actually shifted our reporting and the data and the goals that we're looking at of, it's not always about the return you're seeing today on platform A, so whether it be Facebook, Google, blah, blah, blah. It's really about what is the cost of the consumer acquisition, what is the lifetime value of that consumer. So we've shifted our reporting and goals to really say, how are we building your business, and what is that, how many touches does it take, what is the lifetime value that this channel is bringing to you versus what is your return on ad spend, specifically in a post iOS 14 world. The other part at an agency is we do measure ourselves in verticals and industries. So we really pride ourselves on, you know, we have about 700 clients and we do have a lot of knowledge and a lot of data. So our goal is to always industry benchmark against where you are and why you are. So whether it be CPM and CPC with the large increases we've seen year over year with iOS 14, that's a great part about an agency is we have all of that data at our fingertips. And then ultimately our last goal with every client is how do we always additionally grow, which I'm sure the in-house side as this too. How are we adding new channels? How are we adding new media mixes, whether it be programmatic, display? Are we adding in CTV? How are we going a little bit up the funnel? Are we adding in podcast advertising? It's always a goal of ours to test, iterate, improve, and learn and optimize along the way. And probably that's a good segment for Rich there too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I can start with that, right? So like you can definitely see how things are shifting with like CTV, OTT, and you having more of like the upper funnel and kind of going down to the bottom of the funnel. Even like TikTok is kind of like your upper funnel now moving to the middle funnel. Is what we're seeing that happening. And we're seeing that, you know, definitely different CPM costs for like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So we're kind of looking at like the CPM costs, how that kind of works with return on ad spend. But I'll kind of start from up on top. So for us, I don't know if it's unique or whatnot, but like this is what we do. So we have Google Docs we share, and then we do daily forecasting. So we actually have like year over year, like what things look like for daily, and we fill in different buckets for spend for the day. So it only takes a couple minutes for the team to do, but everyone's kind of working together doing that direction. So you can see what all the spend is for the day and how we're kind of tracking against what our predicting is. And so we'll be like, this is our predicted quarter for the month, or sorry for the month. So this is our prediction for the month. And then we'll start filling in the sheets from each of the channels. We have like maybe, could be up to like 15 different channels, like buckets for the day. And then how that kind of relates to the end of the month. And so let's see how that kind of relates to, does that match up to what we predicted? And then if we're like, for instance, the ROAS, if our ROAS is higher, then we'll put more money in, just kind of tweaking different things in different buckets. So we'll shift money more into the buckets that are working the most there. And then as Kyle was mentioning, so we do track other things outside of return on ad spend from the quantitative side. So we'll look at traffic. How is traffic growth happening here? I know from us, we hired a really, really super solid content manager, and that's her job, is to kind of focus on content growth. And so making sure that's good. And then the CPA, how's our CPA tracking? And then conversion rate, how's the conversion rate looking month over month? And then product growth, right? So like, is the product growing different products? So like, are we continuing to grow different products out there? And then the qualitative side is the review surveys. So I do read all the surveys, kind of work with our customer service team to make sure everything is good on the customer service front end. And then, you know, what's really resonating with them on the review side, right? So like, what's the product doing? What's it not doing? How do we iterate from there? And then, yeah, so we look at both from a quantitative and qualitative side to measure things out.
Awesome. I'm so impressed to hear a marketing leader bring up reviews and surveys.
Oh yeah, it's super important.
I've been working in reviews for a while, and it always used to be a function of customer support. And, you know, and now to see it on that side where it should be is good to hear. Cool. All right. So obviously a lot of the supporting of measurement and reporting happens via tools and software, of which, you know, marketing tech, especially in the last 10 years, has evolved so dramatically. So would love to hear from you guys, you know, how you think about tooling your teams, any favorites out there, et cetera. And Rich, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm sure, like as Kyle mentioned, there's a ton of different tools you can use. You can get to a point where you get too many tools, right? So like you kind of got to scale back a bit too at the same time. Like I think I mentioned earlier, it's a different conversation I had before, but you know, we get pitched so many tools being in-house. And so like, and so many different agencies pitch us, right? So you kind of have to like work with the tools you have, not be like shiny new object, shiny new object, shiny new object, right? And so like, make sure you're an expert at those tools you work with. So what we do from like at a high level end here is we have an analytics platform that we plug in with Data Studio. So we have like a master kind of, you know, snapshot board we have. I was looking at the reporting. I think there's like 10 different slides we have in reporting that we kind of have that we go through. But so the high level, that's what we kind of work through, is an analytics platform, ties into Data Studio. And then on the performance side, we work off of a thing called revenue presence model and an algorithmic model. I'm not sure if you know what that is yet, but a presence model means is that touch point touching anything throughout the journey. So like from impression pixel of Facebook, is it throughout the journey? Is that presence in there throughout the journey? So is it considered like an assist, or is it considered a final touch point? And so like an algorithmic then takes into consideration all the different touch points and gives it a weighted value on it. So they'll say, hey, this based on what we're seeing gives you, for instance, Facebook X amount of dollars towards that. So that's what we look at from like a high level reporting. And then we did get into what you mentioned, Jordan. So like we do some like user testings and reviews, stuff like that. So we use user testing and then usability hub. So usability hub, you can add together some, like for instance, on the graphic side, you can put together hero images, and you can see which one of the hero images people really like the best and why they like that. And then you can go from user testing port. I like to look at a couple different things for user testing. One is like, how's our site doing? How's the competitors doing for user testing? But also from a search perspective. So like, how does search look? Like when people are searching for things like in Amazon, I think Kyle mentioned he works on Amazon platform too. So like, how does it look on Amazon? How does it look on Google? How does it look on, Walmart and stuff? So from just understanding around knowledge of search behavior platform, and then everything and then at the end part was more on the design and project management side. So we work off of Figma for like the product, like product pages lining up. So we kind of work off of that, and then Asana for project management.
Awesome. Love the idea of like seeing how your presence looks in all the different channels. I don't know if that's something that everybody does. I think that's pretty smart. Cool. All right, Kyle, agency side, what do you guys like to use?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Rich. I get pitched weekly, daily emails, LinkedIn, everything, every platform. And I do have to strategically spend time. I'm always curious about platforms, but there's only so many hours that you can be pitched in a day. So I definitely get that. I think we use quite a few tools at Hawke, which is a little bit different than an in-house piece. We are working across a massive volume of clients versus in-house where you're one client, you're focused on one client. So the difference there is we use tools like Optimizer that help us make automated bidding solutions a little bit AI, bringing in some AI learnings. We use tools like Morpheo.ai, which really does things like flag for us. So if you're working across, 5 accounts or 6 accounts, if your pacing is automated, things like that are much simpler for you to just bring an alert to your face, kind of bring that red, orange, yellow, green status to an account, things like that. Another tool that we utilize very frequently is a creative tool called something like Marapipe, however you say that. The idea that you can easily put in one video, one GIF, one image, and it spits it out across all platforms and bypasses the media buying aspect of like manually uploading it and imports it to TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Google Display, everything, and resizes it for every image, for everything automatically. So ideas that you don't have to just manually spend time having a graphic designer or an outsourced individual sending in the creative over, sending it back, then putting it, in the 1800 by 1920 sizes for stories that it just automatically does, and then it automatically uploads in the platform. So we really look for, it sounds really cool. It's a fun tool, but there's some quick things that we use like that honestly just add a lot of value and time saving to our clients, and also to our workflow. Ultimately, that's what we're looking to do, is streamline. And the goal of bringing on tools like this are to streamline the time so that we're spending more time in the ad accounts, we're spending more time on strategy, we're spending more time with the clients. And then internally, we have a lot of platforms too, since we do have a sales team, something that we do utilize Salesforce products and Pardot, things like that for our own agency. We use, similar to Asana, we use ClickUp and Basecamp. And very similar things like that. So I don't think that's any anomaly at any agency. And then we do use all the standard platform tools, obviously, like any platform, like Rich does. He's using the interfaces of the platforms, GA, upgrading to GA4, things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, love the Marpipe thing. That's cool. It kind of seems like the intersection of art and science, as many things are with with marketing.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Great tips there. All right. So I think this is our last panel topic, and maybe the most controversial, we'll see, which is, how do you decide, what to do in-house versus agency, and how do you think just generally about using these two kind of styles of marketing resourcing? So Kyle, we will start with you on the agency side.
Yeah. I do think the ultimate value of an agency is that you're working across multiple brands. You're seeing what's working on one brand that's very similar, what's not working on another brand. You're seeing what's working in different agencies or different verticals, not agencies, verticals, industries. You're able to see what, if you do an experiment A on one, can you replicate that on another? You're saying, does smart shopping work, or can I do standard shopping as an example? You're saying, is this new iteration of shopping coming out? Is that really working for clients, or should we stay on smart shopping? You know, there's a lot going on in the space always across all of these channels and all of these verticals, that ultimately having a professional in each space, you know, is really the value of an agency. So it's not hiring, you know, one individual who's focused on your brand. It's hiring someone who knows the digital landscape much more in depth technically, because I know as myself, I'm not the best at everything. And I definitely can own that about myself. And I don't expect anyone to be the best. You can't be the best Google expert, the best Bing expert, the best Snapchat, Facebook, Pinterest. It's just not, it's not possible. So that's really a benefit of an agency, is really bringing those learnings across clients. The other part of an agency that's really beneficial is the partnerships. You know, a lot of brands don't spend as many dollars as we do with these partners. So we get added value, we get immediate access to a lot of things that a lot of people don't. You know, we have whatever the names of all these partnerships are called, platinum, or, you know, whatever their Facebook's naming their highest tiers. We do get teams of people. So for instance, my Google team is a team of 12. I can literally call them on their cell phone and say, this account was shut down. I will have it live within a day, versus maybe calling your one rep and filing a ticket and, you know, having to kind of go through standard process. So there are a lot of added values there. I do think another piece would be the tools part. We do have a lot more access to tools because we have a lot more dollars that we can spend across clients to bring those tools. So I think that that's a little bit of the debate that Rich and I could have, but I do think those are ultimately the value of an agency at the time.
Absolutely. Rich, how do you counter that?
Yeah, no, this is a debate class. No, I mean, like there's pros and cons of each, right? So I've worked for in-house, I've worked for agency. I love the agency side. I love the in-house side. I personally prefer the in-house side. That's why I'm here. No, so I mean, I think it's going all in one brand is the first like topic, right? So you can really engulf yourself into one brand, understand the whole landscape. You're not kind of split between different accounts. So you can really understand, like for me, I understand the mattress space, I understand the products, I understand like what all the competitors are doing, and I have time to do that. I also get the opportunity to talk to like the CFO or to the engineering side of things, and to like my CEO is a great mentor. He has like, you know, years and years of business experience. So that's been helpful. I would say like from like another thing too is, you know, there is opportunities for like new opportunities. Not saying there's not in the agency side at all, because there definitely is. But from us, it's like, you know, somebody on my paid team wanted to move into more of the omni-channel side. So we let her do that. So now she's focusing a lot on how do we get retailers signed up and working on the retail side of things. So you can kind of move around different areas. Probably the same thing with the agency side too. And then one thing is, I know that working in the agency side, sometimes the fallback would have been like, you know, how do we get that project implemented and kind of saw it through. This one here in the in-house side, you can really see your project from start to finish and how it ends up, right? So like, especially on like the content side, I know like, you know, how does the product page look from start to finish, and has been implemented, and then kind of go from there. So I think that's one thing you can really see. You can really see your project from start to finish, kind of finish out.
Yeah,
I would say that one thing on the agency side, and I know that you probably know this, but we don't see the final picture, right? Like we're just seeing a portion of the picture. And so I think a lot of us, I was talking about this in a meeting the other day, is that, you know, we need to get more of the full picture. We need to get more of that to really understand the business. And I think that's a benefit of in-house, right? Is that you get literally the full start to finish. You know, the cost of the product, you know, how long it takes to make the product, you know, how long the shipping, you know, we only know what we know at the agency side. So that's a fun part of in-house, is that you get to see start to finish.
Yeah, that's a great point. Marketing is not a island in that respect. And so, yeah, the cross-functional piece can be nice on the in-house side too, but definitely a lot of benefits and applications for both. And with that concludes our topics, our planned topics. We did want to open it up for questions. So if anybody does have any questions, please type them in Q&A now, and I'll start to take some of the ones that we have there already. The first was if Rich had to fight anybody for the license plate. I don't know, Rich, was that competitive or contentious, or were you able to get that vanity plate without a problem?
Yeah, it was very hard. I had to take my boxing skills to match. I had to fit my characters on there. So there wasn't, I couldn't say ghost bed. I had to like figure out which one was out. So, but no.
Fair. All right. The next question. So clearly development and engineering is so critical to the success of the marketing team in an e-commerce business. Have you ever had dedicated engineering resources roll up directly into marketing? And what are the pros and cons of that? First of all, what a dream, dedicated engineering developer resources. I'm sure anybody here would take that. Have you guys ever had that set up?
So I had one person that was split a role. They did half marketing and half development role. But that didn't really turn out. So like the person just didn't turn out. I don't know. But so no, I mean it's I would say I can see what you're saying, like what, how that would help. It didn't really line up that way though. But we do work together really, really well on the development side. We actually do we have our Monday stand-up meetings, and we have the engineering and the marketing as one meeting. We actually have that. So we do one, so that way we're all on the same page with what projects are in the pipeline. And then the creative team and the engineering team meet on the side too. And so then they kind of work together on that side. And so I can say when we have a project like launching that's like a fairly decent project size, we'll get the engineering team to kind of come in, and we'll kind of kick it off and kind of go through what the project looks like in detail. So
Sure. Kyle, I don't know how much this applies to you guys. Yeah, on the.
I'd say the only way that it would apply is for Hawke internally is that we do have our own dev. I mean, being a larger agency, we do have our own. We actually have 4 dev people that I was actually thinking of, but we have someone who focuses on, like our Salesforce business. We have a dedicated development just for Salesforce at our agency. We have a dedicated rep. We have actually an internal platform called Portal that we have a dedicated person that manages everything from start to finish. And then we also, we recently acquired a platform which has 5 developers, but it's working on a automated bidding platform. So we don't have to use other tools. So I guess, it's a little bit different than on the e-com side.
Excellent. Yep. Makes sense. All right. Next question. I'm going to jump to this one. Would you advise a new launching business, services, or product to start with an agency or try marketing in-house, assuming a basic level of understanding of Facebook, Google Ads, some of the major paid channels there? So what do you guys think? A new launching business?
I would personally start with an agency. And I do think that's one of the benefits of Hawke, that we have a price point that's very affordable. That is who we are. We work with small businesses and scale them. It can be much more affordable actually at our price point. So we do start at $2,000, if not $1,500 for small businesses for a professional in space. And it can be a great way to dip your toes, especially with our month-to-month contracts. So that in this instance of working at Hawke, I do think that starting with an agency tends to be a little bit easier because you're getting someone who says, all you need to do is give me some creative. We can write the copy. We know how to target. We know how to do the ads. We know best practices. And you're not required to do that immediate hire, which can be a cost now. For instance, hiring in California, that's $62,500 a year, plus benefits and fringe. You're getting another 12% of that cost of that employee, where you can actually hire an agency to start, maybe just a paid social, or just paid search, dip your toe in the water at a cost that is exponentially less than hiring that full-time employee. And you're also getting the channel expertise at the same time. So that would be my personal opinion on it. I don't know, Rich, if you have a different one.
No, I agree with Kyle. If you're starting out, depending on your experience, I think it is good to get an agency that you trust. Hawke Media would be great to go on board. I think from there, then it kind of branches off depending where you're at in the scale part to maybe you want to go in-house, maybe you want to go agency level after that. But I would say starting out, I would say that, finding an agency that understands expertise is good. It just depends on your own skill level too. So are you, is your skill level pretty advanced, or are you kind of just getting in, right? So, but I would go with the agency route for that one.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so impressed that you guys do month to month, Kyle. I feel like that's really rare on the agency side and matches what small businesses need, which is like agility. So yes, well played on that. Okay, I think both of you guys mentioned early on the importance of project management. Do either of your teams have dedicated project managers? Or is it more about having the actual people that own the channels or campaigns working from project management process and tools?
Yeah, I can kick it off. We've had on our list as like a next hire would be a project manager. So we don't have that. We don't have that yet as an ideal world. But so right now, what we have is a channel ownership as the project manager for that channel. So we have for instance, Asana has a creative board, a writing board, an engineering board. And so like the creative board then is controlled by the creative person there. So then they'll move up projects based on what they're seeing. You know, there's different kind of tiers to the projects. There can be like active projects, just kind of brainstorm projects, VIP projects. And then so they'll project management themselves, the board. I mean, so that's why I was saying it is important to find somebody who's organized so they can understand how to lead that channel.
Sure.
Yeah, and at Hawke specifically, this is something that we're honestly just tackling at the moment. It's funny to get that question. We actually have a head of project managers that recently started, I believe at the end of the year. I can't believe it's already almost March 31st, the quarter's almost over. But it's something that we're actively working on to group individuals together to streamline process. I do think that there's still a human element to the business of having someone project manage people and not people, but tasks, and really help take some of the manual labor that experts are doing. Again, you know, our ultimate goal is to always spend as much time in the ad account on strategy as possible. So removing some of the agency nuances of even just client follow-ups or recaps or road mapping or, you know, anything that really is a more manual time task so that the people that are dedicated experts can spend more time. So we have a little bit different version of it than the in-house side of what a project manager accomplishes, but definitely very similar goals.
Sure, makes sense. You know, what I think is an interesting observation on this is as project management tools and software have got more prevalent and more mature and a lot more sophisticated, I've noticed that in the last like 10 years or so, the prevalence of like placing importance on training humans in project management skill set and tasks. Like I remember like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, like Six Sigma training, PMI training, like getting certifications in different project management disciplines was super hot and like something like everyone had on their resumes. And I don't see it as much. And I wonder if it is because of just seeing a lot more maturity in the tools behind project management. So it's just less of a need, but it is interesting because it's part of what every single person does. And especially with the, you know, limited resources on the marketing side as well. So key. Definitely cool. So we're kind of winding down. I was going to ask one more question that I actually had as we were chatting, and that was like, if you guys have a sense of how you'd want to ratio your budget across like tools versus actual like spend on channels and campaigns and paid advertising, etc. And so how you kind of throttle spend on the actual tools that are kind of helping to report how all of these things are working versus investing money actually in those channels and campaigns. Is there a certain ratio you guys have in mind, or is it kind of like more of a feeling? Anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we probably have a smaller budget for tools per se that we utilize. And that's really, we honestly don't consider that as like a marketing cost per se. That'd be like considered like a software cost, like as a bucket engineering cost. But yeah, when we throttle back and forth between the different channels, like the budgets between channels. So we'll say, hey, we're not seeing display, right? So we're not seeing display, like what's happening with display. Okay, let's throttle back display and push that into, let's just say CTV or something else, a little bit different there, based on what we're seeing. So we're kind of moving on buckets. It's what we do as a team, based on like I would say like tools, but yeah.
I'd go really quick. I know we have 1 minute. The way I look at tools is, does it increase efficiency across the team to where it either increases revenue by head of an account, it gives more time back. Like MariPipe is a perfect example of something spending 10 hours of time or 6 hours even resizing images to where you record videos and you can upload one video and get it within a minute, right? So I do think that you look at time versus cost versus revenue by head versus a team account to say, does this take away the need for 3 people? And I can now use 1 person to take away the manual part of the role. So I would say it's definitely a cost factor, but I do think the feeling is a big part of it. And I think that comes with knowledge of just doing this for quite a while, that you know what's going to save time. If I can, instead of hiring another additional person, if I can use a tool for $2,000 a month, well, I just save myself, let's say, a net of $5,000 a month. So I think that that's part of the feeling / financial side of it too.
Makes sense. Is this, I think this webinar is sponsored by MariPipe, perhaps, but
it might be. I mean, it might be, like, great. I mean, I think they paid for this. They paid for the advertising portion.
Yeah. We've said their name most, but awesome, guys. Well, that is our hour that flew by. Thank you for everyone that joined, and thank you so much, Rich and Kyle, for sharing your expertise. I thought that was a really fruitful conversation. And we'll be sending this recording around to everybody. So thanks everyone for attending. And that's it. Have a good rest of your week, everybody.
All right, thanks everybody. If anybody needs anything, get out on me.
Cool. We're good.